Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Destiny and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and start working with the models, and we're going to be creating models for products, for categories, for vendors, for adding images, and we're going to be creating models for a whole lot of cool things. Make sure to drop a like if you want to see more videos like this, and also consider subscribing, as it really mean the world to me. And also, you want to get the templates to code along, check out the links in the description below. They should point you to the right direction to get the template. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and open up my code editor over here, and I'm going to open up models.py in the core app. I'm going to open up models.py, and from over here, what I could do is go ahead and start writing out a simple model for this. And for this one, I could go ahead and firstly import from Django.db. I want to go ahead and import models just like this, but yours should be already imported. I guess that right. Now, after you've done that, I'm going to go ahead and start off by creating a class for the category. I'm going to say class, and I'm going to call this category. And for this one, it's going to be inheriting from models.model. So models.model is usually whatever you pass into the form whenever you want to go ahead and create a new form that's going to be sitting in your admin section, and that's going to be in the database. Okay, so when we've done that, now I want to give this form an ID. So as you all know, this category is going to have an invisible ID over here. That is, if you are advanced a little bit in Django, or if you're very good with Django, then you're going to know that there's going to be an invisible ID field over here. But I don't want to expose my ID field to the world. I want to use my own custom ID, and I'm going to call it CID. So CID is nothing special, it's just category ID, and you can call that whatever you want. You could call it bananas, or you could call it peanuts. It's totally up to you. Now I called out CID, and what I could do is go ahead and say models.uuid field, right? And I could go ahead and say unique should be equal to true, and I think for now I'm just gonna stick with that. But for the UUID field, I don't want to use that. Rather, I want to use a Django package that's called short UUID. Okay, so all you need to do is just go ahead and install short UUID. I'm just gonna come over here, and I'm gonna say Django short UUID over here on my browser, and hopefully this is gonna open up short UUID. I think my internet connection is quite low, so as you can see, short UUID is opened up over here. This is it, but I think my network is pretty much slow today. All you need to do is go ahead and copy this over here and install it in your terminal. Just open up your terminal and paste what you copied, which is the pip install Django short UUID field, and they should go ahead and install it for you. But if I run this now for myself, you're gonna see some like requirement already satisfied, and that's because I already have it. So I'm just gonna break out from this. I don't really need to run that, and I'm gonna close up the terminal. I don't also need that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here and import the short UUID. And to import the short UUID, what we simply want to say is from, and that one is going to be from short UUID.Django fields. I want to go ahead and import short UUID field. Okay, as simple as that. So instead of UUID field, what I'm going to be using is the short UUID field. And up to now, you might be like, okay, Destiny, what does the short UUID field does? Why don't you go ahead and use the default UUID field? Now with the short UUID field, you could generate short IDs. So if you've been working with normal Django ID, then you're gonna know that it's either 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's increments based on whatever primary key the object has got. But if you're working with the UUID field, then hopefully you must have seen this really long, ugly looking ID. That might be something like I'm just gonna come over here. That might be something like this, blah 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 blah. Hopefully you've seen something like this before. But with the short UUID, now you could go ahead and specify whatever you want for the IDs, and how long you want your IDs to be, or how short you want it to be, and you know, you could customize it the way you want. So that's why I'm going to be using the short UUID. So firstly, I passed in unique equal to true, and there is a couple of things you could pass in. Firstly, I'm going to pass in, or rather secondly, I'm going to pass in length. So length, LENGTH. This one I'm just going to pass in, let's just say 10. I want the length to be 10. That's pretty much means that we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we're going to be done. Okay, I don't want it to exceed that, and there's going to be 10. And also I want to pass in a max length. So max length is how long I want this length to be. It's not going to exceed that, and I'm going to say 30. Okay, so why don't I just say the max length should be 10? And that's because I want to add in something that's called a prefix. So a prefix is pretty much what each IDs are gonna have. Okay, now this one is gonna be cat, and that's just category. So each ID is gonna have something like cat 56 blah 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 to identify whatever category that is. Okay, so there must be cat at the beginning, and that's because I specified cat over there. So if you calculate this ID over here, let's say this is 10 plus the cat, that is 13. Now this length is no longer 10 but 13. Now if this max length over here is 10, then there's going to be a problem. It's going to automatically minus 3 from over here, which means the max length must be 10. Okay, so you need to make more provisions for if any other thing is going to be getting in there, and that's why we can say 20. Now take note, you can put whatever number you want in there. I'm going to stick with 20. Okay, so now when we've done this, another thing that we could do, another really cool thing, is go ahead and specify alphabets. Okay, so alphabets, I think that should be it. Alphabets is pretty much what you want your ID to be made up of. So I want my ID to be made up of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Okay, let's just stop at M. That's great. Or I could even just stop at H, because I don't know, the M is looking somehow. And A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Then I'm just gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's gonna be picking random text from in here, or rather just random letters, alphabets, and numbers from in here. It's gonna use it to make up the ID. That's now I'm gonna say title should be equal to models.char field. So as you guys know, char field is pretty much the field that's used if you want to pass in things like titles, heading, and heading and things like welcome messages, something like that. So that's pretty much when you have to use char field. Okay, and for char field, it must take in a max underscore length, or your program is going to break. And for the max underscore length for each product, I want it to be 100. Okay, so whenever a user keeps typing something like fresh pear, something like that, blah blah blah, for their e-commerce, once the length gets to 100, it's automatically gonna stop. They won't be able to continue. Okay, as simple as that. So that's pretty much what max length does. Now another one that I'd want over here is the image. So image is gonna be pretty much for let's say the thumbnails of the categories. Let's say a category is like food, then want to have a food thumbnail for it. Let's say a category is like clothing, then I'm gonna have a clothing and all that for it. So I'm gonna say image field, and for this one I'm simply gonna say upload underscore to, and you could pass in whatever you want over here. So I'm gonna pass in category. So whatever image that we have on that category, there's going to be a folder that's going to be created automatically, and it's going to be called category, and whatever image we are uploading for the categories is going to be coming in here. As simple as that. Now when we've done that, I want to simply go ahead and say class, then I'm going to pass in meta, and for this one I could go ahead and pass in a verbose name plural. So I'm going to say verbose underscore name underscore plural, and for this one I'm just going to pass in categories. Okay, categories. Now why am I passing this in? That's because if you don't pass this in, when you go ahead and save this in your admin section, what you're going to be seeing is something like this. When you have only one category, this is what you're going to get. But when you have multiple categories, instead of you to go ahead and format it like this, you're going to see something like this, and this doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, so that's why right now we changed it to this. So when the name becomes plural, we change it to this. Okay, as simple as that. Now another thing that I'd want to do is go ahead and display images in the admin section. So now when we go ahead and add categories, and in the admin section we're going to be listing out all the categories, we want to display images for each category in the admin section and not in the front end. So in order to do that, firstly I'm going to import something, and I want to get rid of all these things that are auto importing over there. I don't need all those. Now I want to import from Django.utils, and I think that should be .html. I want to go ahead and import, and that is called mark_save. Hopefully that's it. From Django.utils.html import mark_save. Okay, so how do we use the mark_save? Now it's quite tricky if you are new to Django. So what we simply want to do is go ahead and create a function, define, and you can call this function whatever you want. I'm going to call mine category image, and in here I'm just going to pass in self. So self is like just the usual thing that you pass in whenever you're creating a function inside a class, a model. Okay, just pass in self, which means that we could get, let's say, the self.cid or the title or the image from over here, and that should be it. So when we've done this, now what we simply want to do is go ahead and return mark_save, and what you want to do here is go ahead and create an image tag. So remember, mark save is pretty much coming from HTML, so that means we could use the image tag, and I'm gonna say source, and for the source over here I just want to pass in a concatenation, and hopefully I don't break this. So what I want to do is I'm going to change this one at the back to single quotes, and that's because I'd want to use double quotes in here. So I'm going to use double quotes in here, and just over here I'm going to say percentage s, and when we've done that, later we're going to automatically append something to this source over here, and we're going to be getting that later. I don't want you guys to get confused. This is normal HTML, but instead of passing in like an image source over here, we just passed in this. Okay, now when you pass that in, you could go ahead and specify some attributes like width. I could say width over here, and we could say the width should be I'm just gonna pass in 50, and I'm gonna use double quotes over here. I'm gonna say 50 px, but there's no need to pass in the px. And also there's going to be height. You guys already know that if you are not new to HTML. And I'm also going to say 50. Don't worry, I'm going to show you guys where this comes, where we're going to be using this, and you guys are going to be wowed when you see that. Okay, so over here now, now I want to go ahead and append the source into this whatever image that we're uploading here. So whatever image we upload here, I want to append it into this image source. Okay, so how do we do that? Open up a bracket. Now I'm going to say self.image. That's what I told you guys before. We call the self over here. Then with this self, you can access whatever fields that we've got over here. We can access title, CID, or image. Now what I got is the image. Now after the percentage sign, which is this one over here, I want to go ahead and pass in whatever I've got over here, which is going to replace this S. Okay, so self.image, then finally the URL. So with the .url, that's how we're going to be able to get images. As simple as that. Now the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and define a string representation of objects in our database, or rather in our admin. So I'm going to say define __str, and we're going to pass in self over there, and I'm simply going to get self.title. So remember, I told you guys that you could access CID, title, image, and all this. I'm going to be showing you guys where and how that works. Okay, where we go ahead and run our migration and make migrate and view that in the admin. So another model that I'm going to be creating is the vendor. So I'm going to say class vendor, and vendor is pretty much the people that are going to own like sections in our e-commerce website. Let's say someone might come over to our e-commerce and sign up as a vendor, and they're going to be selling their shoes, their phones, their whatever they want to sell, and they're going to be a vendor. They're going to have their own section on our e-commerce platform and all that. Okay, hopefully you understand. Now a vendor is going to have an ID. I'm going to call it VID, vendor ID. That one is totally up to you. Now to even speed this up, I'm just going to copy the CID, and I'm going to paste it over here, and I'm going to change this one to VID. Okay, but instead of the cat, this is going to be VEN. Okay, so VEN, that's pretty much what I want to call it, and I'm going to leave everything else the same way they are. I'm going to copy the image and the title. I'm going to be needing the both of that, and I'm going to just paste it over there. Now we've got title, we got image, but instead of just uploading this over here, I want to go ahead and upload it to somewhere more specific. Now for that, I'm going to define something that's called I don't know, I can call it whatever name I want, but most of the time you're going to see people call it user directory paths. Okay, so user directory paths, and that's pretty much going to create a folder for us, or whatever user that's going to sign up. Let's say Destiny signed up and they are the first user in our database. It's going to create a folder, and it's going to say user 1, and whatever picture Destiny is going to be uploading on our site, it's going to put it in there. Simple as that. Now create a function, call it user directory paths. You could call this pensies, or you could call it these bananas or peanuts. It's totally up to you. Now we call this user directory paths because yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Now I'm going to pass an instance, and I'm going to pass in file name there, and I simply want to go ahead and return. What do I want to return? A string user underscore. Then for this one, I'm gonna open up curly brackets in there. I'm gonna pass in 0, and I'm gonna say 1. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and fill all this in, and for that I'm gonna say format. Now take notes, this is what I told you guys that's gonna be creating maybe it's going to automatically get the first user ID or the second user ID and all that. Now how do we get the ID? Now to get the ID, I'm just going to say format, and I'm going to pass in instance. Remember, this is what we passed in here. I'm just going to call that. I'm going to say instance dot user dot ID. So whatever is it that you're passing in here, that's pretty much the same thing that you want to pass in here. Okay, but most of the time you do want to stick with instance, okay, because yeah, the names is kind of cool, and yeah, let's just use it that way. So the next thing I'm also going to pass in is the file name. So this file name is pretty much whatever is the name of the file that the user is going to be passing in. Okay, as simple as that. That's what I want. Now after we've done all this, instead of uploading to category, you guys guessed it right, we could go ahead and pretty much upload to user directory path. Okay, so I'm going to say upload to user directory path, and yeah, that's it. So now we have VID, we have title, we have image. Now another thing that we're going to be needing is user. So each vendor is going to be an actual user, right? Now we want them to be able to have an account on our platform before they're going to be able to create like a vendor, a shop for their section. So now I'm going to create a user. Now this one is going to be models.foreign key, and the user always takes in a user model. Okay, and we need to import a user model. So I'm going to say from Django, rather that's not Django, but that's user dot models. I want to go ahead and import user. Okay, so now as you can see, that's now satisfied. Now all foreign key takes in this argument that is on underscore delete, and now what does on underscore delete equal to? Models dot cascade. What does it do? Now whenever a user gets deleted, do we want to delete their shop? That's pretty much what this line over here does. Now, if you put in cascade, then you're pretty much telling Django whenever a user is deleted, go ahead and delete their shop. Go ahead and delete the vendor, okay? Whenever this user that owns the vendor, store, or whatever is deleted, go ahead and delete it. But if you say set underscore null, then whenever this user is deleted, the vendor shop won't be deleted. This user over here is just what's going to be removed. Okay, now if you want to do this one, if you don't want to delete the shop, you just want to get rid of only the user and not the shop, then you want to make sure to pass in null equal to true, or you're going to have an error. And why are we going to be passing in null equal to true? That's because if we set the user to null in the database, Django is going to be like, okay, but how do we go ahead and fill in the field for this user? Because a user foreign key must be needed for a vendor. Now that's when we now go ahead and tell Django, hey Django, you might actually leave the user field as null. Okay, it's totally okay, it's totally cool if there is nothing in the field. Just don't break it, don't show any error. So Django is going to be like, okay, yeah, now I understand. But if you change this over here to false, then definitely Django is going to be showing you some warning, and it's going to be throwing errors. Okay, so that's it. Depending on whatever you want, I'm going to be sticking with set null should be set underscore null, then I'm going to stick with null should be equal to true. Now I told you it's depending on whatever you want. Now I'm going to pass in description. So this description is pretty much description of the vendor. So this one is going to be models.text field. So models.text field, and for this one I'm just gonna say null should be true. Hopefully this one is understandable by now, and blank should be true. So null true, blank true, all this means that this field can be true. Now why didn't we use char field but use the text field? That is because text field takes in much longer words than char field. Okay, now in the future videos I'm going to show you guys how to use rich text uploading field. That's something like CK editor, something like Tiny Mice, that's going to help you add in a lot of functionality to your description. You could add code blocks, you could add images, you could make your text bold, you could make your text italic, you could change fonts and all that, if you don't know what I'm talking about already. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next one. Now we've done this. Now another thing that we're going to be doing, now we have VID, we have title, image, and description, right? Now another thing that we're going to be needing is address. So we're going to need the address of a vendor, And what else are we going to be needing? We're going to be needing the contact. We're going to be needing the chat response time, chat underscore response underscore time. We're going to be getting all this dynamically, but for now I just want to leave it over here. And for all this, I want to be adding defaults for them, because I don't want to go ahead and keep typing out things for them whenever I want to create a vendor. So I'm going to say default for address should be, let me just say 1 for now. Then I'm going to start changing this. I'm going to say 123 Main Street. Then I'm going to say London. Okay, so 123 Main Street, London, simple as that. Or I can just stick with the 123 Main Street. Okay, and this is address, this is address, this is supposed to be contact. Okay, this over here is supposed to be contact, and for this one I'm gonna stick with plus 123, and over here I'm gonna say 456 and 789. Okay, now for the chat response time I'm just gonna say 100. So this is gonna be 100%. And another thing that we're going to be needing is the shipping time. So rather, that should be shipping on time. So I'm going to say shipping underscore on time. So do they ship on time or don't they ship on time? And that's going to be rated in percentage. So for now I'm going to say 100%. And another thing that we're going to be needing is authentication rating. So how authentic are this vendor? And that's why I'm going to say authentic underscore rating, and I'm gonna stick with 100 for that one also. And I also need days return, so days underscore return, and for that one I'm just gonna stick with 100. And finally I need warranty period. Okay, so warranty period, and for this warranty I'm just gonna come over here and grab that, and this should be warranty underscore warranty underscore period. Okay, so now this is how all this looks. I think that's pretty much what we want to do.